So imagine that the proposal that you get says all of the speakers, audio devices that you need, all the LEDs you need, it does not matter. Everything you need is included. It's so much simpler.
And having one price per attendee, the conversation now shifts into what do you actually need to have your message from the podium land with the audience? The hotel has owned everything as a part of the overall asset. Why not now audiovisual as well?
Exactly. The time is now.
Every industry has a moment when it has to confront its own outdated systems. Welcome to Full Resolution. For years, Hospitality AV has operated on a model built around rentals, line items, and complexity. We helped build that system, and now we're here to challenge it. There's a clearer, smarter approach rooted in ownership, operational efficiency, and real revenue growth. Join us, and let's get this movement started.
Hey, welcome to Full Resolution. I'm Chirag Patel.
And I'm Martin Kwitschau. And we're in the studio today talking about simplicity being the ultimate sophistication. What if the most sophisticated thing you could do for your hotel happens to be also the simplest? Leonardo da Vinci said it 500 years ago. Steve Jobs built a $1 trillion company around it, and somehow the AV industry never got the memo. But walk into almost any hotel event today, and what you'll find is the opposite. 200 line item invoice, a crew that answers to someone else, gear that rolled in yesterday and disappears tomorrow. We built Apex because the most powerful thing you can do in a complex industry is strip it down to what actually matters. One price, permanent infrastructure, one outcome. That's not a limitation. That's the whole point.
Yeah, and speaking of simplicity, we've used this example before, Martin did, about Netflix and Blockbuster, and we'll just keep building on that. Netflix made it simple. I watch some of the movie, I leave it alone, I come back, it's right where I left off. I can watch it on my phone, I can watch it on my TV, tablet, laptop, doesn't matter. It's simple. It's always going to resume where I left off. Look at the old model with Blockbuster. You're watching a DVD, you watch 10 minutes of it. The next time you come back, you got to remember where you were, you got to fast forward it. So we're going to stay on that example, but that's exactly what we mean. Let's keep it simple.
And that was a transformational outcome that happened with Netflix. And if the industry wants that similar transformational outcome, there really need to be some structural changes. Let's talk about perhaps 5 of those that are necessary and how we've thought about them. So, Chirag, we've talked about 100% of the revenue staying with the hotel. What we're really talking about is removing the middleman, right?
Correct. Somebody who's managing and dictating how your business is done. Nobody wants that.
And scraping all the shekels and making pricing higher, quite frankly, as of the end result. It's really not necessary with the way technology exists and has evolved today. In a permanently installed infrastructure, we ought to be able to simplify things and at the same time have there be a better financial model overall.
Yeah, and how do you get better financial model? You cut out all the waste. Hotels are always looking for ways in their own management to figure out how they can do things faster, higher, stronger, with spending less money while not cutting out the quality. And this is much of the same thing.
In order to accomplish that, that leads us to our next transformational point, and that would be permanently installed infrastructure in the hotel. We've heard the sound systems in the ballroom. They were value engineered. They're 70-volt speaker systems. If they were a quality, high-power, 8-ohm style speaker system in the ballroom ceiling, we wouldn't need speakers on sticks. We could just really have an incredible show, and that's just from a sound perspective. Think about all the other ways that we can enhance the room.
Right. To your point, for just the speakers, but what about the built-in screens? Why do we need to take them down and put them up every single time? What about the lighting? Why do we need to put up all those? What are they called, Martin? You're the expert here.
Trusses.
The trusses.
Right.
Yeah. Why do we need to do? And they're all the ways in the way too. They're blocking my sight.
And it's labor intensive at the same time, thereby again driving the cost up significantly. And to your point with the screens, I mean, imagine the canvases that are available today when you're talking about LED. LED is many times financially out of reach only because of the complexity of setting it up and tearing it down. But what if there was a mobile way to do that, to leave it up all the time?
And there is, and I think people have a misconception of it being expensive. Why is it expensive? It is gonna be more expensive than a projector and a screen, but with a projector and a screen, it's always the way that the fools think about it, in my opinion. They think, "Oh, look, I'm only getting this for $10,000." Yet you're gonna spend $90,000 setting it up, tearing it down, setting it up, tearing it. So what did it really cost you? And it's an inferior product to the LED.
Well, and as long as we're talking about some of the modifications in equipment via permanent installations that we're going to recommend the industry move toward, that also now comes into affordability and how does all of this get paid for? Again, I think we've designed a model where Apex is going to front 100% of the cost. And then at the end of the contractual obligation, the hotel owns it. Is that how we have designed this, Chirag?
Absolutely. I know that's the biggest sticking point with this kind of change is that nobody wants to output this kind of capital. So we made sure to not change that and disrupt that part of the model. Everything else needs disrupting for better performance, but money always kills a deal. So we took that off the table and said, we're going to finance the entire thing. But as you said, instead of me getting the write off that asset because I own it, the property owns it and outright, and they get to enjoy all the benefits because they're the owners. I don't get to tell them what to do with it.
We've gone through three structural changes so far in this discussion, and let's kind of summarize at the end of the day what all of that means. Having Apex fund the ownership leads ultimately to the pricing to the customer being in a better model. And instead of trying to understand, let's say, 100 or 200 lines of what might be called technobabble from time to time, where organizers just simply don't understand what the line item means, again, we come back to this concept of simplicity where we are including everything in one price per attendee.
Right. So imagine that the proposal, if you will, that you get says all of the speakers, audio devices that you need, whether it be a microphone or a banging audio system to light up the place. Speaking of lighting up the place, all the LEDs you need, it does not matter. Everything you need is included. It's so much simpler.
And having one price per attendee. Imagine how that conversation now changes with the group organizer. Instead of having to explain the line items, like you said, the conversation now shifts into what do you actually need to have your message from the podium land with the audience? Or what do you need in order to have the ultimate outcome of what you'd like to experience for your event?
Yep. And that's where the experience manager comes in, which we haven't talked about yet. So we can go right into that. The way that this model works is there's no longer an AV technician per se. It will be an experience manager. So at the beginning, when the hotel's sales folks are talking to the potential client, the experience manager is right there by their side. They're capturing their needs from the very beginning and making sure that the client understands what they're going to get. And because it's permanently installed, they'll be able to walk them right in there with the click of a button. They'll be able to transform the room within minutes to showcase how that room's going to sound, look, feel, all of that. You cannot do that today because today when people come to look at it, you walk into an empty room and go, just imagine, just pretend like this is all on. And most people's imaginations don't work like that.
In today's world, a director of audiovisual, his main goal really is to add more line items to that quote, which can be out of lockstep and out of sync with what a hotel is actually trying to accomplish in keeping that piece of group business coming back year and year and year after to the hotel, meaning a happy and satisfied customer. And so what we have is a person now that really is additional firepower and horsepower on the sales side, on the sales team, being an advocate of selling all the features and benefits of the hotel holistically versus just adding line items to an individual audiovisual quote.
Exactly. So what are we saying? We're saying you should turn this into a vendor client relationship into a competitive weapon. It's a partnership. So today, all the AV crew members do not report to the hotel, they report to the AV company, with the experience manager being embedded and the model being such that they are looking out for the success of the hotel and the client's event. There's no longer an issue of who they report to. They always report to the hotel.
Well, and we've talked now about 5 key structural changes that need to happen. And just to put a bow on that very quickly, at the end of the day, what this means is a strong competitive advantage in the marketplace for hotels that are early adopters of this concept, where customers can walk into a meeting room, walk into a ballroom, watch a 2-minute commercial, watch the room light up, listen to the sound, all permanently installed, nearly invisible without all the cables taped down and all of the labor that goes into that, is such an amazing competitive advantage that the salespeople, I think, will enjoy having a tool like this at their disposal.
Let's not forget the part where everybody fears. You know, all this great technology that's built in. What happens if I push the button and it doesn't work? And I want to make sure that everybody understands this isn't something that we help to design and install and then walk away. That experience manager is your subject matter expert. They're the ones who are going to operate this. So the operational burden will not fall back onto the hotel.
And that's an important point that you make, Chirag, because that's where Apex Global comes in. We have decades, and in my case, 45 years of audiovisual experience where they don't have to be the experts. We will be standing side by side, giving them our playbook on how they can be successful. Okay, so Chirag, earlier in the conversation, you brought up the fact that Blockbuster stayed comfortable, but ultimately Netflix took control. We're asking our hotel audience here, which one are you? So let's go through our version of the examples of what if you stay with your current provider, or what if you choose to go with Apex?
Do you want to stay in the equipment rental model? How sexy does that sound? Or do you want to be in the how can I make your event the best it can be model?
Indeed. And I'll add to that. Do you want to be stuck in this line item pricing where customers don't understand what the lines mean? Or do you want to have a one price per attendee, everything is included, close business faster, have happier clients coming back to your hotel, and invoices that don't have surprise line items on it?
How do we do that? You know, today it's looked at, and it is a vendor on the property. It is completely disassociated from an operational standpoint with the property. But with Apex Global, we're now a team member, not a vendor.
And having this concept of an experience manager sitting side by side with you. Today, you don't have AV as a part of your sales process. You actually have AV working against you because they're irritating and frustrating the potential group business with all of these line items that we keep talking about. There's no vision, there's no creative vision. And imagine, again, having AV now as a competitive weapon in your arsenal where you can live showcase the rooms, have an experience manager by your side on site inspections, and really just set your hotel ahead of the competition.
Yeah. And while that AV vendor is giving you commission, what about them giving you credits on all the business they lost you? From the once the deal is potentially inked with the event side, they walk over to the AV vendor, and the AV vendor who doesn't have much of a personality, doesn't look like they care about the property, doesn't leave a good impression, and then they hit them with that ridiculous pricing of the 200 line items that you said. And so either they end up walking out, and if they feel trapped and they have no choice, they will never come back. What about all that leaky back door you have? Who's measuring that?
You're absolutely correct. And so ultimately, you've got to ask yourself, do I want to stay beholden and answer to my AV vendor? Or do I want to own AV like they own everything else? I mean, they own the carpeting, they own the food and beverage in the hotel, the guest rooms. I can go on and on. The hotel has owned everything as a part of the overall asset. Why not now audiovisual as well?
Exactly. The time is now. So, what do we ask? Do you want to stay or do you want to go? Actually, there's a song that has those same exact lyrics. So, we definitely want you to go. So, if you enjoyed this episode, share with someone in hospitality.
Because this shift is happening now.
Follow, subscribe, and stay part of the conversation.
And if you want to learn more about what we're building, visit us at AMSYShospitality.com.
Thanks for listening to Full Resolution. We'll see you on the next episode.